What I think's actually happening now is when they used to use the word cultural or like cultural quarters for towns, it used to mainly be the historic areas and parts, but also like, if you've got, say for example, if you're in Leicester, right, they've got, a lot of Asian culture and Bangladesh and things like that. And they've got a lot of Indian shops, not only just Indian food places, but, like places that have got all the things from their countries, like carvings, or, you get those like decorative sort of like, reefs and kind of like dangly sort of things, a lot of bohemian stuff. Also, like, in places like Bristol, and I think they have that cultural place, like they used to have the cultural city that they keep moving around. I think it was Liverpool, I think Hull had it. But when I always used to go to Bristol, I mean, you've got all these different culture because there's different interests, different countries, different religions. That's what it's meant to be. I mean, you've got like if, for example, Bristol and London are quite similar in the way they've got like a lot of graffiti, like it's kind of like street art. It's sort of accepted and actually emphasised on, built on. But then they've also got like student areas. I mean, I know we've got issues with food at the moment, and it's probably not a good idea to like sort of glamorize food. But I mean, when you get all these smells of different foods when you walk around, is what, gets people out on a night and walking around going for something to eat, go to a bar, have a drink. Most of these things now we're finding out is actually really bad for us, although the things are like amazing and wonderful and so forth. But I think that when you do get all, I mean, I don't think like a Chinese restaurant or like a Chinese takeaway in some sort of I don't know, like if you go to some village like Long Bennington or something like that, you got a fish and chip shop and then they've got like an Indian. I mean, maybe you could say if you're in a remote village like, Long Bennington or something like that, you go into a Chinese restaurant, that is sort of cultural because, they've got all the Chinese decorations up and so forth. It is a little bit of a culture change in a way, but all those foods like have been really, 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 really bad for us. But the thing is, essentially, the thing with Sunak and Braverman and Priti Patel and so forth is this whole, they're wanting to accept and not criticise or use hatred for other cultures and other races. I mean, I guess the thing is, right. The thing is with Neil Mohan, like CEO of YouTube, who is like completely and totally 100% American, right? But the thing is, he is in a way, it's almost like Sunak and Braverman and Patel and Neil Mohan. The thing is, when people are born in England and grow up in England, and then, you had these different religions. The whole point was to accept different religions, right? And accept different cultures and ethnicities. That was the point of cultural, multicultural. Whether you've got English culture, like the old part of the town, like, you've got Norwich or York or Shrewsbury or something like that, or Tewkesbury, or even out in the villages, like Bybury Village and, Winchcombe and places like that, which are very, very, very English culture. That's what our identity is. It's great to have these mixed cultures like in Bristol and London, but that's what the interest is, with all the different styles, all the different religions, different religious iconography. People go to bookshops, learn about all these things, if you can't go to Camden Market. I mean, you can have all the foods with it being healthy. There's a way to do it without banging all these sugared plum sauces in and all that, I mean, you can have like these, what do you call them? Like these, not Japanese restaurant, I forgot what it's called now, Mongolian, when they just chuck all the raw ingredients in a pan and just, cook it up. But it's not, it's just all like, as you get it, you chuck your chicken in, well, if you eat meat and then you chuck all your different veg and stuff in and they just like cook it in front of you. There's not much extra things put in, to make it unhealthy. It's all meant to be like, almost like the Naked Chef, isn't it, But what's happening now is it's kind of like pretty much McDonald's. I think McDonald's is the sort of prototype for it all. In a way, McDonald's is the prototype for YouTube, and it is the prototype for Sunak and Braverman and Patel, in the sense that they're kind of almost, it's like on REM, it's like there's me in the corner, there's me in the spotlight, losing my religion. But it's not like REM. It's almost like Sunak, Braverman and Patel and, Neil Mohan. It's almost like singing REM, that's me in the corner, that's me in the spotlight, losing my religion, and I don't know what to do, I don't know, I've said too much, haven't said enough, this is it. I mean, they're becoming, they've lost, I think they've lost their culture, and what's happened is the new thing, they get into business, and I don't think that, when they come over, right, and when we've got all these amazing different cultures, also the artwork and even, street cred, street art, hip hop itself, that's another culture of itself, because you've got the street, BMXing scooters, and skateboards and things like that on the streets with the graffiti, and then the hip hop and so forth. You've got a culture there. Then you've got, you see Sunak, Patel and the Tories are trying to destroy an entire culture of the British Isles, the travellers, the gypsies, the people who live in caravans and so forth and like that. That's another culture that's rooted into us, and there's something charming about that in a way when you see the gypsy caravans pulled up and stopping on the land. I mean, I like it, but yeah, when they originally brought Chinese restaurants over and Indians, they're like banging on absolutely vehemently about no hatred, accept this, accept that, this is the way they do it, this is the Muslim, this is the Islam, this is the Buddha and so forth, and enacting new laws for hatred and accepting it. But they are actually attacking the gypsy culture, and what they're attacking it with is this new, what happens is they start absorbing into these business ranks, and it's all corporate. What this corporate thing is even doing is the culture of little DIY shops in villages, the culture of village, the culture of the post office in the village, the culture of, the milkman doing the milk rounds in the village, even though, we should have all been having raw milk. But, all these different England, we've got our own cultures within England. But then when they get bought by the bigger companies, they're all going corporate, right? And what's actually happening is there is a corporate culture itself, coffee shops, Starbucks and so forth, which is based around the model of Friends on TV, this whole sort of, posh bars, very fancy coffee shops, people who have, got decent jobs in the city with money, but then they start buying up. And what's actually happening is they are all, sort of corporate or architects, office people, designers and so forth, which is basically what happens to Kirklees Council. They get absorbed into that culture. And it ends up being a modernist movement, which is a new culture. But then they start saying, oh, this is culture. And what they're doing in Huddersfield at the moment, the brand new state-of-the-art modernist university, which is all set for industry, and all shops, mobile phone shops and so forth. And then they start designing all these massive new halls. They wanted to have a food hall. They really, really wanted to have a food hall. But they've ended up having this massive coffee shop hall. They're calling it Cultural Centre. It's basically a massive building with loads of space in between for seats. I don't know if they're going to have some massive nightclub in there. I mean, students used to want to have massive nightclubs in old warehouses, but they used to send the police to shut them down. As long as they're making money out of it, handing money over the counter and, dishing the coffee out and alcohol, then they want to fill people up with big concrete buildings. But, if they're not making any tax out of it, even if it's not harming anyone, what about all the noise? There's people living in the city at night who are sleeping, who might work in the city and not want to go to sleep. What about the noise from all these new multicultural food halls? What actually you end up with is there's no culture. There's actually no culture at all. And this is what you get when you get Neil Mohan, who's going out on these, big, it's like the Ed TED stage, the big talk with this comfy chair and the microphone. And, we'll tell you about all the super tech stuff, but talk about it in a really simple way. Although behind it's, all the coding, the novel technologies and the coding, the algorithms, the biological engineering, blah, 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 blah. And we're actually scrapping cultures. It's actually anti-multicultural. And we really need to pull them up on this. The new town centres they're building are commercial, consumer. It's anti-cultural. It's actually destroying whatever culture there was. People come from other countries to see the culture of this country, not have just have multicultural and mixed culture. But even those multicultures are dying now. And I think that the plan all along was to kill off the cultures of those countries. Although obviously when you go to India, you're not going to, write off the whole culture of India. But if you think these installations, these implants of these cities are also taking off in those countries as well. And then you've got all these banks bossing their governments, this old Charles thing, and they're wanting to get, facial scanning even out in, India and cities and then out into everywhere else. I don't know what it is with Blair and Charles and Nick Clegg and Zuckerberg. They talk about all these rules and regulations on their platforms, no hatred, you got to accept everyone, be nice. When those people themselves are enacting policies, we can ban you for any reason. We can ban you for any reason. We can block you for any reason, right? But then it's like, you can't say that, you can't do that. That's illegal. That's illegal. But they can do what they want. And then when you actually try and make a legal representation, then they just basically block you. We don't have to answer any questions, or we've got fixed replies. We can't give you any information you could use or argue to win. They're literally dictating from these empires. It literally is like that Judge Dredd city model, I think, in the Judge Dredd film, when they've got this like massive city wall, which is what Trump kind of like was all about with his South America wall, isn't it? But I think it's a metaverse wall. It's a remote business wall where they are transferring everything through the devices and automatic home delivery and all their mechanisms of doing things which are not humans. And it's not cultural. It's actually destroying culture. It's destroying the village culture. It's destroying going to town culture, because you don't even have multicultural in towns anymore. It's the new modernist culture, and I think all the foreign people like it. I don't even actually think they like their cultures anymore. I actually don't think that Indian people, I don't think Chinese people, I don't think all of them like their cultures anymore. I think they like Apple. I think they like Amazon. I think they like Bezos. I think they like, Starbucks. I think they like McDonald's. I think they like YouTube. But what's on YouTube, the whole point in YouTube is to have all these different multicolored videos of, brightness. There's someone with little cute animals, there's someone with hang gliding with eagles, then you've got, Mr. Beast, and then you've got this and that, then you've got, the horrors of British media like, GB News and Talk TV. You've got all these different things, but they're actually killing those things, because if you actually go into the towns and everywhere, it's actually all disappearing, and the countryside is slowly disappearing. Soon you're going to have to go out into the wilds of Death Valley or America to get to the countryside. A lot of them, just banging up videos of driving through McDonald's, eating the food, tasting the next burger. They don't even need executives anymore. And then people aren't people. People are just, a word or a voice on a mobile phone. It's like, I shrink your head, I shrink your head, I shrink your head into the phone, which is what they're doing with the smileys. And, people aren't being treated like people anymore. People are being treated like a thing, walking around the shop, looking at a handbag, like, don't like, don't like, look, browse through the telephone, like that video, don't like that, this person's talking, I reply, don't like that reply, don't like them, block. I really don't know what Zuckerberg's doing. I mean, his haircut says it all. I really just don't think he gets it, and I think that he's had far too much money and success. I just think he's lost the plot. I think it's American sort of. I mean, there are people in America. Even Marianne Williamson is. I think I think she probably would be the best candidate out of them. I'm not too sure about JFK because he keeps changing his position and standpoint depending on what other people's position and standpoints are. Maybe he's like trying to feel around for what people's standpoints are. But like Rand Paul, for example. I mean, he seems to be quite a straight talking person to me. He's a Republican, but he is straightforward, he's straight about, he likes NASA, he likes, he's American, likes modern things and so forth, but at least he's about sort of kind of, being open and straight about it, which, is what you need if you're doing politics. You can't be kind of lying about stuff or hiding or concealing things. The things with America is when we went to America, everything's big, the big country, big open prairies, the free mountains, all these Grand Canyons and so forth, all these big features. And then they had all these, like the Mount Rushmore and, the Empire State Building and Statue of Liberty and all these big things. But there's a lot of big space in between. They're definitely not running out of countryside or, peace and quiet. If you want to go to the city, you can go to the city. They've got. I don't think their old town places suffer that much in America. They might do, but there's a lot of. The Americans have a lot of legendary places, even if they're not like, 17th, 18th or earlier century places. Literally, they've got a lot of old-time places, but they've got a lot of space to expand out into. They're definitely not short of space. I can't say because I've only been to Florida, but, Florida was literally like McDonald's on overdrive. It was just like, sort of like, seaside amusement, McDonald's overdrive. It was like Back to the Future parking lot thing. That is... It's not what England was, We've got an identity here, and they wanted to profit and make money. But in their pursuit of profiting and making money, it's actually really impacted as culture. And we don't have that much land over here, nowhere near as much as America or Australia. And I think it's going to be sad to lose the cultures. It's upsetting that the Tories vehemently dislike certain groups and cultures here and are attacking them, even trying to make it illegal, make a culture illegal. I mean, if I won the lottery, if I had Elon Musk money, I'd love to do like, just court cases, just like, Andrew Bridgen's doing it now with Matt Hancock, defamation or whatever. There are court cases. I know that, they're going on about Prince Harry's money getting sucked up by court cases, but, if you're Elon Musk, you can do a few of them, or even, like, you can raise money, and Donald Trump sold a few baseball cards to make 4 million, I've been wanting to do loads of novel things, like, just take Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson to Supreme Court, because they're discrimination, racism. They're attacking gypsies. They're trying to legislate against gypsies. Well, where's the ethics? Well, they've got an ethics committee in Parliament. They're going about ethics in this or that. They're like highly anti-racist, but then they're like legislating against gypsies, the whole culture, trying to eradicate it. Like, no, we're not. Yeah, you are. I know we're trying to get them into McDonald's culture. Well, you're trying to erase a culture. Sunak is not, Sunak's a businessman from a Tory background who likes handshakes. He's very, very modern, like Novara. It's almost that he could slip into Novara Media, with, Ash Sanker. Rishi Sunak, he slips in here, he slips in there. 1 minute he's like very modern, got his legs crossed with his, trousers up and his like suspender socks on. Oh, I'm a bit touchy-feely. Rishi Sunak, oh, we'll go do some business meetings. Yes, we'll make some new novel technologies and do a handshake here. Oh, it's 10 billion for a new amazing platform for the government. Yes, this is all modern. Just all I did is knock around with a few widgets. Yes, and we'll get loads of, people working in factories in, China knocking out plastic things for mobile phone parts. Yes, Rishi Sunak, it's all modern, it's a new McDonald's drive-through. But yeah, that it's not actually Indian culture, is it? it's actually about as much to do with Indian culture as nothing. It's not to do with Indian culture at all whatsoever. You know, it's shedding the culture. It's not multicultural. It's multi. What it is, it's got people who were originally from multicultural, but now they are this modern movement. And what the councils are doing to get away to make an excuse for it, they're going, oh, we're building a cultural quarter in the town, and we're going to build it whether you like it or not. And no matter what consultation results are, because you're fucking having it, you know. And the architect loves it because he's making shitloads of money out of it, and he's got a wacky hairstyle, you know. It isn't cultural. It's coffee shop. It's modern consumerism, and they're labelling it cultural or even multicultural. But what they're doing is what they're wanting to do is mix loads and loads of people together, you know, Sikhs, Muslims, English people, and they kind of want it to be like Google, you know, with Neil Mohan, Rishi Sunak comes in, you know, Maloney, you know, get all these people in, but they're all wearing the same suits. They're all wearing the same, you know, stuff from the, you know, Kingsgate Centre, from the shopping mall, and it's the same culture. Like if the people, look, right, if you fill them up in a room, right, and the actual person disappears, the human, right, but their clothes still there, you know, like on The Invisible Man, when like you can't see him but his clothes move around, and it's like it's the clothing of one cult, not multicultural, one, and it's the buildings of one, and if you make the human, the person, invisible, like, you know, you can't see Neil Mohan, you can't see Rishi Sunak, you can't see Suella Braverman, you can't see Boris Johnson, it's just the same clothes. It's the same clothes walking around, drinking the same coffees, going to the same McDonald's and doing the same thing. So what you've got is Tony Blair and Charles going out to all these countries, then bringing them in and saying, oh, we're multicultural. But what they actually are doing is that they're not. They're actually becoming, you know, modern. And then as soon as they get these people they're actually shedding all their religions and their culture, and they just want them to be on the Starship Enterprise with, you know, the fucking uniform on, with the same thing, with all the tech. And then they say, oh, this is cultural now. Why? The council, particularly Kirklees Council, are now using the term cultural to mean people of all different races, but wearing the very, very, very same clothes and going to the very, very same shops and having the very, very same style houses and buildings. So it's actually multiracial. It's multiracial, and it's a singular new culture emerging that's actually demolishing everything to make way for this new actual one culture. It's not multicultural, and it's multiracial in a singular culture, and that is actually destroying cultures. It's actually attacking multiculture, and the English heritage, the English history is suffering. Even these people's own religions and cultures are suffering, yet they made the lie up, an excuse up, that we're making all these race, you know, anti-religious, you know, discrimination laws just so that they could get them all into the spaceship, and then, you know. And I actually don't even think that they'll be happy with the multiracial singular culture, because by the time they've finished fitting all these microchips and add-ons and, you know, fucking mechanical lungs and so forth onto everyone, like, you know, tonsils are going out of fashion and getting removed because they've gone grey and we don't use them anymore, and then we won't be using his memory anymore or his mathematics skills, and then they'll be replacing parts of your brain with digital parts that are all tied into the central computer. There won't be any human left. You know, it's like Darth Vader, he's more machine than man now. And if that doesn't get us, then they'll be using the biological, you know, engineering and science, which they will use on themselves. You know, I mean, what's the freakiest horror show out of it is ending up, you know, as a machine, or ending up as some sort of freaky biological, you know, they've already, all this gainer function is a load of rubbish, because they've already done the opposite of gaining function. They've trashed function with the foods and trash function with the chemicals, trash function with the lifestyles and so forth. They've harmed us so much now. Now there's always other things happening that it is just ridiculous. I mean, by the time the thing about robots is is it going to by the time everyone's gone cyborg, there won't be any, at least there won't be any racial differences. But then you've got man versus machine, so there's going to be, if they try and make it look like these robots are alive and thinking, then there's going to be more racism between humans and machines. Machines having priority of getting past because they're all delivering NASA parts, get out of the way. You're actually going to end up making more and more racism, but it won't be between humans. It'll be between importance of corporate entities versus human priorities and so forth. I don't think it is multicultural. I think that it is going to destroy the cultures, and the thing is, it's really upsetting and it's a shame because I always liked other religions, I did like multicultural, but there's nothing wrong with being honest and saying the truth about our arguments and differences. That's what pisses a lot of people off, like Navarra media, telling the truth about as differences. Some people don't like that, but where there's going to be more differences when they've kicked all these machines in. I'll tell you what, and that'll be the last. Whether or not you're black or white is going to be the last of your troubles when there's machines coming past, knocking you out of the way, and you're getting fined and whatever. What they're doing to us is it is unethical and inhumane, but all the time. They're like doing these exhibitions, like this, we're cultural, we're ethical. No, you're not. You're not at all. They're writing it all off. And they're actually buying everything up, and then they're dictating all the rules, the regulations, the policies that aren't even the law. And half of these policies they're doing are illegal and actually unlawful. They just don't know when to stop. This is why I'm against too much celebritism, too much fame, too much money or too much anything. Now, their main argument is that it's progress in technology, like space projects, learning new tech. But there's no point designing things if they're just for the sake of it, for the sake of novel technologies just being novel. And that's the fallacy of Zuckerberg. His whole statement, novel, the novelty value of it. Novelty wears off. Novelty of C90 cassettes, novelty of records. I mean, there's a lot of tech. These computers are going out of fashion, quicker than fashion's going out of fashion. One smartphone, then the next smartphone. It comes to a point where we're alive and we're living and we're quite rare in this universe, and there are so many amazing, wonderful things you can do without just everyone being in this sort of regime of employment and these regimes of controlling where you can go. Why do these people want to scan everyone's faces? Why are they obsessed with knowing everything and having this data? What is Tony Blair's obsession with? You need the data, many advantages. Do we know what Blair's priorities are? Having an advantage over other people, having the data and knowledge on everything and, everyone. Using, with Charles, like military style, which is by force. If you can't negotiate it or ask politely, then you use force. And that's what this government run by, force. And that is meant to be what they're trying to take away from us, all possible means of using force. You can't use force with YouTube, when they're enforcing these actions on you that aren't even lawful, they're just policy. You can't, there's no negotiating with TuneCore or, these ditto websites, that are forcing these policies on you, and there's no negotiating at all, and you can't even get to speak to a real person because it's all over the internet. They don't want to give their names. No one's responsible. At least sometimes you used to be able to know who you were dealing with, and now they don't really want you to know more than their first name, because it's all, once these companies get so big, then they start pissing people off, it's scary, like someone come around and give me a bollocking. Well, that's the point. If you give them the bollocking, then they won't fucking do it wrong again, will they, But then we're not allowed to do that anymore. Although the government can give us bollockings by these, flashing cameras and, electric shock tasers and so forth, but we can't. Only the cleansing, the Crown prosecution. Yes, they need to be cleansed. Cleansed? What's cleansed? Yes, we can have, you can give them full immunity, but they need to be cleansed. You must be cleansed. What's that? Make them go for some weird psychological therapy or something, It's that they are an amalgamation of complete and total contradiction. And we need to stop the lying of these people. I mean, the petitions committee are the absolute pinnacle of lies at the moment. I mean, I've got a petition that was published in 2015, I think it was. And now they're saying that, I can't do this, can't petition about that, but I've got it published before. You can. What's that? Their own. Johnson is up. For behaviour. Then they walk out on. Andrew Bridgen. Parliament's a shambles. Then you've got. Kwasi Kwarteng and Hancock with these undercover people. Showing them the behaviour is not acceptable. There's something wrong with these ministers. They're being groomed or schooled, or they just don't get it. They're meant to be there. We elect them to, work in the government to provide services, not to use party political influence to obstruct us. We really, really, really need to go through a period of assessment, and then we've got all other things going on at the moment. And in fact, Jeff Buys Cars has just been talking about something, to do with people having some blood clots or something, and or strange incidents. And I mentioned in a video the other day, right? They're claiming that I mentioned about who dare say the word COVID and vaccines now. And I mentioned something loosely off the cuff that was nothing to do with that, and then I got a strike on a video, and then these appeals are a joke. There is no appeal. It's just like a fake appeal. It's like a charade. It's a false appeal. There is no valid appeal that anyone's actually really truly looking at and validating, and they're not even actually really telling you what's wrong with anything in your videos anyway. They won't say where is it in the video, whereabouts is it, It's ridiculous. But these councils at the moment, it's all contractors, it's all business, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with the electors or the voters. They're on their own agendas, and they're implementing things now and changing our towns for an agenda which no one is actually having a say in. And the consultation is just like a charade. It's almost as joke as the petitions committee. The next thing they'll be saying, you can, we'll consult you, but you can't have this, you can't give this feedback, you can't have that feedback, you can't have the other feedback. So I'd say to people of foreign ethnicity, it's nothing about multicultural. They want it to be one culture, and they want to actually kill off the cultures, actually. In fact, I would defend multiculture, but it's not being multiculture, it's multiracial. Let's get this right. When, like, Kirklees Council are saying, we're building a cultural quarter. No, it's not multicultural. That you're and it's not even the culture. It's not a culture, because anything that was cultural about the place where you're from is actually being assimilated into this new modernist. We want multiracial in a modernist, a modernist town. So they're not preserving any. It's nothing to do with a culture. Culture is an identity of, lifestyle and so forth. But what it is it's just all these consumerism things and modern things are, we were meant to build cities so you could go to the city. But now the city is coming to a town near you soon. And the city is coming to a village near you soon, whether you like it or not. The city is coming everywhere. The city is coming to you soon, wherever you are, no matter where you are. And if that don't come to you, then Starmer's powerhouses are coming. Starmer's powerhouses are coming, and there will be no culture left. There will be no English heritage, no English culture. There won't even be multicultural places. There will only be Starmer's powerhouses. And it will be, almost like on the Paperboy computer game, but you won't even be getting your paper delivered because everyone's got. It's almost like Paperboy's delivering smartphones. You'll get what it'll be is like the Paperboy, but then it won't even be the smartphone. You'll be in the Paperboy computer game, and everyone will be trapped inside. The fucking computer game in their perfect square powerhouse. Fuck knows what they're doing. Mowing their garden, or we won't even be mowing the garden. The robot will be mowing their garden. I think that. There's this Noel Gallagher incident, which actually is quite amusing. With the 6 points he's got in his license, he's got a chauffeur driving him in his car. Yet, by the way that these people are going, the plan. What's the plan going to be? Do they want every human to have a servant? But then. The whole thing about Rees-Mogg having a nanny was a joke. You're meant to do things for yourself. If you've got like a robot doing everything for you, what's left to do? Do you even want the robot to fuck your wife for you? Do you want the robot to play tennis because you're not that good at it? And if you're not that good at riding bikes, you get a robot to ride your bike for you. What is left for the human to do? If Jeff Bezos even, has a robot empire and he only has to go into the fucking, factory once a week to, tap his finger on the screen a few times, put his fingerprint on, scan his eyeballs, and then, check the fucking system, but then the AI's checking it for him, so he won't need to do it. So what is Jeff going to do? I'd like to ask Bezos, right? By the time that all the staff are replaced by robots, by the time that even he doesn't have to go in because the AI is running the factory, and he only has to go in once in a blue moon, what is Jeff going to be doing? Having sex with his wife, well, he can get a robot to do that for him. Playing tennis, well, actually, playing tennis, well, it's more challenging to play against a mechanical opponent. What is going to be? What is he going to be doing? Playing golf with Trump? At Mar-a-Lago? Or he's not even going to be on the planet. We all run automatically by robots when he's in space, going where no man's gone before. Even though Brian Cook says we can't really get anywhere, but he can look down on it all. What's he going to look down on? All the perfect machine robot symphony that he's made, going in synchronicity. Or what? Where does it stop with these people? At the moment, Bezos likes looking through his cameras and he's pleased with everyone working properly and you're not skiving or hiding some under a table or packing something wrong. He likes to watch people work. Yes, watch them work. That's not far from watching Africans build Glasgow, is it? Slaves. A guy who likes, in outer space, one minute he likes to be up in space looking down on the glowing blue planet, then he likes to be looking through his cameras in a factory watching everyone work and then calling them if they make a mistake. What is... It would be interesting to go into the mind of Bezos like in a space film, It would be interesting to see what is, and Zuckerberg. I think some of these people, they've just got... It's dangerous to have these people with this amount of money. And all I would ever want to do with any amount of money if I had billions is fuck them in the courts. Just take them to the courts over stuff. Because, no, you can't do that. Oh, we've got a new policy. We can close your account for any reason. Any reason at all. Or any reason, we can have any reason what is possible. Any reason. So, no, you can't, because there are at least 10, 20, 50 reasons that are illegal. No, well, we can have all of them, any of them. No, you can't. I just want to fuck them. Who are these people? But how can you? Because they've got the money and we haven't. And that's the thing. They're just actually doing what they want. And this is in the mind of the Tories and what Rishi Sunak's doing with the government. They're making up all these laws. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. But they're actually doing, they're actually... you can't attack cultures. You got to accept these cultures, but then they're going writing off cultures and legislating against it, making them criminals because they actually don't like other cultures. That they are actually racist in a way. We need to pull them on it. I mean, this is the thing. We've got all these good law projects, of mental health, like funding and monies. All I want to do is pull these people on stuff, mainly because they're doing all these things. Like, I mean, I know that I'm sort of against, fame and so forth, but if people, really can't be persuaded, and if they're, desperately, if they're obsessed with having, millions of people obsessing over them, then, if that floats their boat, then, fair enough. I mean, if someone wants to eat pies to death and, they really, really can't be, if they're really not going to give up their pies, then, I ain't going to argue with them. If RFK wants to know my position, but you can, this is what Paul Van's about. You have a conversation about it. You're open to debate. You're open to dialogue. You're open to trying to explain and, talk about it with these people. But they don't even want the voices to be heard about things that are criticising them. Yet, the British government are criminalising, an entire faction of English culture because they think that it's Stone Age or backward or whatever. But how is it? These mobile phones are more Stone Age because they have to be chucked in the bin every 2 years. They don't even last long. I mean, they're just hypocritical. And this is the thing. When people are vehemently doing things wrong and then they're using authoritarian actions to literally control other people, but make out that other people are criminals, but when you check them and what they're doing, they actually end up doing something which is criminal. And they're doing it for the very same reasons that come out of Tony Blair's mouth, which is many advantages. And he wants all the data, and he wants his mechanisms of implementing, or what else they're implementing. If you're not implementing, taking over people and bossing them when you're actually doing something wrong, which effectively is a military action because the military does things when you shouldn't be doing it, and you use force. Rishi Sunak is a military force. They're using the British government. They're hypocrites, and they only got into that position by assuming the power through financial and money. And then when we don't even really need money. All you need to be is in the right, and pursue the correct thing with the right process, with the right legislation. But they're saying, no, you can't have that, you can't have that. It's wrong, it doesn't meet your standards. You can't have this petition, you can't do that, it's wrong, bollocks. You know what I mean? They're wrong. They lie. They don't tell the truth, and they attempt to, get these advantages and so forth. When other people, many people are happy just, getting along together and things. Yet all they're doing is calling us out, oh, racist, sexist, or, whatever it is, binary, non-binary, or whatever in between. When, actually, a lot of people liked all these things, but when they're not actually coming over and actually end up destroying our culture. And what actually happens is you get these converts, these counsellors who like all this. Oh yeah, I like these little gadgets. I like this new little drive-through McDonald's. I like this and that. Most of the councils now is just corporate directed. It's not anything to do with the electors any further than getting your bins emptied and getting the, a little bit of this spruced up and spruced that in the area. And then you get something really brilliant like a nice park or a nice beautiful park. And then they go overboard and ruin it. They have to spoil it. The thing is, there are some beautiful and amazing things that aren't about profit. There are some amazing things that aren't about, it doesn't need improvement. It's just right. And some people just don't know when to stop. It's almost like, you get all these, sometimes you get a fashion company and then it's rather chic and cool, but it ends up being a victim of its own success and then goes big and sells out and gets bought out. And you've kind of spoiled it. And they say, well, no, everyone can have a piece of it. Everyone can have a taste of it. Now we can supply, it to the world. No, but there was nothing wrong with it when it was very amazing what it was. And that's the thing with humans. If you've got a nice boutique or a nice anything, like a nice little spot somewhere, a nice little beautiful place, or even a nice little town, village, and there's an atmosphere there, that is what culture is. and just to be there in that time, places people have grown up in, but they don't know when to stop, and that's the problem. And I think that's the thing with the human being. I think actually humans are quite cool and interesting in what we've evolved into, and there's a lot to explore and enjoy in it, and a lot of good times to have. But they already want to spoil it and ruin it, and then he wants his implants and this and that, and he wants to be able to there's a pile of 10 books there, and he just wants to be able to go through them in 10 seconds. But that's not the process of reading. What it does, it ruins the moment. It's like, you enjoy the journey to get somewhere. You just want to be there, it really just, it's almost like why go to these cultural places, what they're making these modern ones? Oh, I want to be there, I want to be there, let's be there with all these people with the similar clothes on, with the similar, drinking the same coffees and drinks, when you're there. But they don't even want to do that, really, because if you think of these people's hypothesis, right, and the whole premise of their ideology, they want to be able to get everything that's to be done as quick as possible, right? Does that mean they want to dance 10 times as fast, and they want to talk 10 times as fast? Because then your moment even when you finish work and you go out, and then you're in the moment talking and socialising with people, if you're speaking to, romanticising with people, or having a nice, moment having a drink, then even really, if you want to assimilate the books in click of a fingers, then does that mean you just want to, do your dance, in half a second, and then, drink your pint down, but then yet, Nigel Farage wants to enjoy his pint, if Nigel Farage and Tice do they just want to plug a valve into the side of the neck and have the fucking alcohol injected, or, why not have a pill? This is it. And this is my problem with Blake 7, with the Google technicians, with Google, all these, with Zuckerberg and Musk, because at the end of the day, by the time they've finished, I mean, they want us to be buzzing around like bees, and that's not human. I just don't think that they really actually appreciate some things. My own parents are like that, we went to a place, when it was just absolutely enchanting and beautiful, and they weren't satisfied with it, Maybe like some of these places that they have, in North Africa on the Mediterranean, some of these holiday retreats, with the white sand and surf palm trees. They build all these resorts. A lot of times you see it's empty. All these modern, contemporary features and designs in some of these resorts. But, what's wrong with the old Jack Sparrow, on the beach, when he's drinking his rum? Not saying whether I advocate alcohol or not, but, I'm not gonna say we should stop people from having modern things, but there is so many places you can build it, that why are they suffering the other things that actually someone likes them and people actually all really like them, and that's their peace, that's their grace, that's their peace. And this is the thing, we really need to start defending and protecting from these powerhouses, because otherwise we won't have a culture. We won't be multicultural. I don't think they want it multicultural. And with the councillors, there's some councillors who are just, they're in with the cool guys, in with the Zuckerbergs, in with the architects, in with the designers. They want to be modern, they want to be cool, they want to be fashionable. But the things that they, that was what they did when they built all the working men's clubs and all the bowling greens and all this and that. The Labour Party wanted to be, not too extravagant, but have nice things, right? Labour Party want to have nice things. Or here's a nice square working men's club. That's a powerhouse. Here's a nice, square this and square that bungalow bill. What Labour built was meant to be the modest things that they thought they were nice. they thought they weren't scruffy. This is the thing with Andrew Bridge, we had a cottage, we had no electricity, and it's sad that his father was ill, but my dad's getting ill now because of his diet. I mean, he's never mind like he just got ill and couldn't do anything about it. He's actually making himself ill and he can't control himself. There are this, I think some people who just work 9 till 5s and only leave the town or village on a weekend or once a month to go to a gig or to the seaside, I just don't think they're really appreciating the assets that we've got in certain areas. Until you've been around the country and you actually have seen a lot of places in this country, and then you can appreciate what we've got and what is a valuable and what is an asset. It's all right for the Tory party. Oh, Tufton Street, that's an asset. Oh, Conservative Party headquarters, that's an asset. But not in Barry Sheehan. Huddersfield's not an asset until it's the media centre. And that's the thing with the Tories. They've got their secret little assets, their history and heritage, like, their Tufton Street and their Tory party headquarters and this and that, and their Winchester College and their Cambridge and their Oxford. And they, completely protect those, doing anything to those is out of the question. But what they do for their money, their income, their business proceeds, is they get Labour to do all the work for them, and then they talk Labour into saying the things that Labour actually had or that other people had. Oh, that's not an asset, that's rubbish. And it's almost like, because Barry Sheehan, I think it is Labour. I just don't. The thing with Labour is, if they didn't even. It's almost like Andrew Bridge in a way, but he's Conservative. They don't actually value any of the medium to poor things that actually are still beautiful. They might not have financial or money value. There's no sentiment, there isn't no taste, style, art or sentiment with them. And it's been like that the whole time. They just wanted to knock out working men's clubs, bowling greens, bowling clubs, and so forth, bungalows. And that effectively is what a lot of Australia is, It's not rubbish. But they're still not satisfied. And then they said, oh, no, we don't like that, but that's what you built. I mean, you could have, argued for different. And then these technological media centre buildings and universities and colleges, but it's always the working class town that has to be, demolished and built, demolished and built, demolished and built. And each time, we're going to make it better, we're going to make it better. Yes, Barry, go on, Barry. Demolish, build, demolish, build, demolish, build. This time, now we are the leaders. And they're trying to win. They're trying to win and beat the Conservatives, but they're not. Because they're still, look, there's your Tufton Street, and there's your Tory party headquarters. Same as it ever was. Well, there's Tories like, Oxford win again. But how the Tories are winning is by getting Labour to, if they'd have kept them nice things in the first place or got them to appreciate it. But what they do is they somehow, I think Labour, they've always aspired to be the Tories, but they don't actually really want to be Tufton Street or Tory party headquarters. They want to beat them and they sort of think that it's crap in a way. I think they kind of maybe think the Tories are rubbish and they want a one-upmanship them one by building all the super tech power buildings, right? But what those power buildings do have more power for the Tories because they actually got Labour to build it and do it for them. And then Labour think that they are better, but what they actually did is anything of their things which truly, the true real value, they wrote it all off. They destroyed their whole culture and heritage, and they become the Tories' tools. And and no one wants a tool. I mean, look at Patrick Stewart, on the Borg. He ends up being a tool. The thing with Barry Shearman is he's a tool. He's a tool for the Tories because they've got him working for them. He's building them all their vast things. And I think that he thinks that, the Tories are crap and Labour are better. And that's what Starmer's doing. But what they've actually done is they are just self-harming. If they ain't agreed to do all the Tory shit in the first place, and they said, right, there's just some complete and total... It's very similar to that multicultural thing. They're saying, we want to be multicultural and we want to accept all these cultures. That is the character of people, the uniqueness of people, like your town, your village, all these quirky, unique, interesting, beautiful things. But what they actually end up doing is they write them off and say we want the super city. And really they're doing that with the multicultural. They want to be a singular culture. They don't want to be multicultural. They want to be a single culture with multi-race. And really deep down, all the races seem to want to assimilate each other and kind of go into one race anyway, that is racist because they're saying accept different multicultures to be multicultural, but they don't actually in the end want to be. And I think that's the thing with the Labour Party. They always think that there's something better when when everyone was just chilled out and relaxed and being liberal, it was all right until, the Tories got everyone doing things for them. And then you're even destroying the things that you had. And that's the thing about liberal is meant to be the balance of the scales, there's nothing wrong with progress, but it's not being used intelligently. And with the conflicts of interest, you just end up, each side ends up, kind of like destroying things of the other side rather than preserving and protecting things that all parties are interested in preserving. That's the difference.